Oh, I'm so glad you joined us here this morning for this episode of Vision Alignment. We have got a great interviewee coming on today. I can't tell you how excited I am to have him go on, but before we do that, I want to make sure you all know that we all have blindness in our lives. We all do. But if we can understand what our blindness is, if we can see through our blind spots or have someone help us to see through our blind spots, then we're going to make sure that we understand how important it is to have our core values, our core beliefs, our core strengths aligned with our vision. That is why we call this show Vision Alignment. It's all about making sure that our vision is aligned with our core values, our core beliefs, and our core strengths. There's someone that's going to join us today who's going to tell us about this. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a little bit about some guests that are coming on next week. So guests that are coming on next week include myself, and we're going to talk a little bit more about my story and how I've actually recently overcome a brain bleed and have had some issues with my speech that have caused me to be able to slow down a little bit because I have to slow down. I have to take naps. I love taking naps anyways, but I love to take naps. But also, we have other guests that are going to be joining us, like Dave Caperton and some others that I'm going to hold off on for a little bit. But I want to make sure that you join us for those calls next week because we are going to have a great time. But without any further ado, I want to bring our guest for today, and his name is Mr. Larry Levine. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
This
is so cool. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to have you on. This is phenomenal. So I'm just so excited. It's great to have you. It's good to see you. It's good to see anything right now. But
no, you know what? I was listening to what you're saying, and I really appreciate you using the words, alignment and vision alignment and blind spots, because I'm a firm believer we all have blind spots.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do. My blind spots are bigger than some others. That's why they call me Brian with one eye. But all of that to understand how important it is to embrace that blindness, you know, and some of that blindness is positive. There are good things that we're doing in the world that we just don't see because we're either too close to it or we don't take enough credit for who we are. So I think that's very important for us all to understand.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it takes somebody from the outside, or when I say somebody from the outside, that could be a coach, it could be a mentor, it could be a close friend, somebody close in your inner circle to help bring out those blind spots. Because sometimes we take the glasses off to the blind spots. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes we wear those blinders that are preventing us from seeing those blind spots as well. A lot of people say that their spouse sees their blind spots for them. I don't look at my spouse that way. I mean, yeah, she can help me with my blind spots and all that. I'm not saying anything I'm going to get in trouble for. Just so you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going down there, so.
But no, it's important to have other people that can see your blind spots. Yeah. I agree. And you have to be teachable. You have to be someone that is willing to accept those blind spots and do something about it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So tell me, Larry, a little bit about your story, and I'm going to let you go for a little bit, and I'm going to get off screen here so you can have the floor to yourself.
Oh, no, it's all good. You can stay on. I encourage you to stay on. You don't have to go off screen, man.
All right. Go ahead.
It's perfect.
So good.
I'll give you, I believe everybody's got a backstory. In fact, I remember somebody who's near and dear to me saying this to me, because I would always say, hey, I'm just going to use you as an example, Brian. I'd say to myself, man, Brian's got it going on, right? And Brian's doing this and Brian's doing that. And a friend of mine would always tell me, who's near and dear to me, he says, you know something, Larry, you never know what that person's gone through until you know their backstory. So here's my backstory. I spent 28 years in the Office Technology Channel in Los Angeles. So I just live a little bit north of downtown Los Angeles.
What is the Office Technology Channel?
Copiers. So it's just, I saw literally, if you want to talk about the most dog eat dog, highly competitive channel that's out there. I sold copiers for 28 years in Los Angeles.
I thought Office Technology Channel. I thought it was some government, channel. I didn't know what it was. So you sold copiers.
Yeah, so I sold copiers and document management software my whole entire life. I learned a lot from it, but here's what was interesting about this is my first year. So my first full year selling copiers was 1988. So I'm kind of dating myself a little bit. I'll throw it out there. I'm 56 years old.
It's all good.
And yeah, it is all good. I love being 50. You know what? I wish I would have never stopped. I wish I could have stopped on 55 just because I just love that number. But nevertheless, my first year in selling copiers was my best year and my worst year ever. I was on a dysfunctional sales team with dysfunctional management. And that's where I learned. I'm a big believer we're products of our environment. I believe salespeople are products of their environment, but how I was raised really helped me get through my first year selling copiers, because I said I had a horrible sales team with horrible management, and I wasn't coached and trained very well. I just had to learn by doing. And I share this because what I brought to the forefront when my first year catapulted me for 28 years in the copier channel is I asked a lot of questions, and I held myself to a higher degree of accountability than anybody else. I worked harder on myself than anybody else. I asked a ton of questions. When I sold things to people, when I sold copiers to people, I'd ask them, why did you buy from me? What were the key points on why you bought from me? What do you like and don't like about salespeople? I share this with you because that's part of my backstory. I'm very inquisitive, and that launched me to a very successful career. And I'm a big believer in this. We all have aha moments. We all have those uh-oh moments, and we got to learn from them.
Yeah.
So to fast forward is in the spring of 2015, after spending 28 years in the copier channel, having a very successful career, I was fired from my very first job at 50 years old.
Really?
Yes. I was fired from a high-paying corporate sales job. I was the number 2 salesperson on an 18-person corporate major account team.
How does that make any sense?
It's a long story, and I've come to grips with it. But I will tell you this: it was an eye-opener at corporate America, and I'll leave it as just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you got to be able to learn from those mistakes. And you got to, the old saying is you got to turn lemons into lemonade.
Yeah.
And so here I am at 50 years old, after spending 28 years in the copier channel. I had every sales position imaginable. I owned part of a copier dealership. I sold it. I moved on. And that's how I found myself in corporate America, selling into large corporations in Los Angeles. And then here I am, at 50 years old, I was forced into entrepreneurship. It would have been easy for me to go back and be a VP of sales in the channel that I grew up in, which was the copier channel. But that would have gone back to my comfort zone. And I'm a big believer when we get dealt little blows like this, we have 2 choices. We can either curl up in a ball and go back to what's comfortable, or we can do something about it and become uncomfortable and grow. And that's what I chose to do. It was through the help of my wife, who I love near and dear. And it was a near and dear close friend of mine, Daryl Amy. If it wasn't for those 2 people, I wouldn't be where I'm at today, because they both said, double down on yourself and do something about it. Go out and coach and train salespeople on what made you you. And that's what I did. And when I say what made me me, is I learned how to build a brand. I learned how to do things. I always wanted to stay one step ahead of the curve, Brian. And so I learned how to leverage the power of social. I learned the power of relational selling. I learned the power of growing and influencing networks. And I learned the power that if you bring your heart, sincerity, and substance to the forefront, it will forever change conversations. And so without any current customers, without a business plan, without ever being an entrepreneur, I went out to become an entrepreneur, and I rode the entrepreneurial roller coaster, and I rode it hard. I went up and it went down, and there was times I cried and I just wanted to give up, literally give up and just go back to being a salesperson. And then, my wife, who is my biggest coach, she said, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. Daryl would say, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. Everything changed 3.5 years ago. And 3.5 years ago, I started just on a whim, the Selling from the Heart podcast. It was April of 2017. And right from there, the podcast became very successful. And we didn't know what to expect, right? It was Daryl and I. I called it the Selling from the Heart podcast because that was me. That's what I brought to the forefront. I still bring that to this day.
Right.
September 2018, the book comes out. And the best advice I ever got that helped me along the way was from a near and dear friend of mine who's also an NSA member, Mark Hunter. Now, Mark Hunter, is also known as Mark Hunter, the sales hunter, and he wrote the book High Profit Prospecting and a Mind for Sales.
Right.
I'm a big believer that you have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions and you have to surround yourself with people way smarter than you to learn from. And that's what I did. And Mark had actually wrote something in Selling from the Heart for me. And I remember the day after my book came out, he said this. He goes, Larry, he goes, the true testament, the true power of your book, you won't see it for about 18 months. He goes, the best piece of advice I can give you is you must bring your book to life. And that's what I did. I went on a journey of just trying to bring my book to life. And in 2.5 years, I pinch and poke myself. The success of the book has been mind-blowing. I doubled down on myself and the message to get it out there. And I'm willing to try new things and do new things to get the message out there. So that's a little bit of my backstory that got me to today.
Wow. There is so much there. What does it mean to bring your book to life? What does that look like?
When I internalized what Mark had said, it's bringing it to life means get it out there, get it told, right? Use you to help bring that book to life. In other words, bring your book, turning it into workshops, turning it into learning moments, turning it into team reads, talking about it, getting people communicating about it. And that's what I did. I leveraged the power of social and I leveraged the power of the podcast. I'm a big believer, Brian, words matter and message matters. And what I was able to do in bringing this to life is I live, eat, breathe, and sleep selling from the heart. And bringing it to life means bringing it to life through social media, bringing it to life through corporate America, bringing it to life through small sales teams, getting them to understand what it means to sell from the heart, reading the book, doing the self-reflection journal, having team reads around it. I am blown away in the span of 18 to 24 months that the book has taken off. I didn't expect any of this to happen. I really didn't. I expected 300 or 400 copies of Selling from the Heart to be sold, and those would be, pity buys from friends and family. I had no idea that I was building a worldwide movement around selling from the heart. And it's all about bringing sincerity, substance, and heart to the forefront. In bringing this to life is I'm willing to discuss and share the things that a lot of people in sales aren't. It's the soft skills, right? A lot of people look at this as the icky, gooey, mushy gushy stuff when you start talking about heart. But bringing this to life is because I'm talking about it. I'm passionate about it. I live it. I deliver the message with clarity and I'm concise about it. I'm saying the things that, quite frankly, most clients and prospects want from salespeople and sales leaders. They're just not willing to do it.
Most clients and managers want this from the sales leaders?
Yeah. Well, why don't you, here, when a lot of people, here's where I'm going with this. And this would be my challenge for those that are listening. Go ask your customers. Go ask your clients. What do you really want from salespeople? They will tell you. And your customers and your buyers will tell you, I want somebody who cares about me, who's got my best interests at heart, who's there for me in good times and bad times. That's a lot of selling from the heart. It's about bringing sincerity. It's about bringing substance. It's about showing how much you care. It's about bringing love, care, and respect to your clients, because without clients, you don't have a business.
Not this is about me, but I mean, this strikes me because I used to work for IBM. And I was an IBM client rep, and my job was to be the face of IBM to these organizations. And I sold into IT, obviously with being with IBM. But the best relationships I had were when I went the extra mile and I did things that stepped out of my comfort zone. I went in for a critical situation called crit sit. And I had no idea what was going on because I'm not really that technical, but to be able to just be there and to be a sounding board and to help make the calls, all that just meant everything to the client and to the success of the relationship that we had with the client. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I was listening to what you were saying, and you use the word relationship a lot. And if you ask salespeople, sales leaders, do their customer relationships or clients, depend on how you want to refer to them, do they mean a lot to you? You're going to get everyone that's going to say yes. Mm-hmm. And then my question is, then what are you doing about it? What's the relationship look like? And I say this for a reason, because you can't just sell something to somebody and move away.
Right.
To me, once you sell something to somebody, whatever that is, right, that's when that starts. You got to be able to grow and nurture that relationship. You got to be able to grow and nurture the experiences that you deliver to people. And quite frankly, this is what I'm concerned with. And that's why, I've wrapped all this into selling from the heart. It's a whole experience. It starts at the very beginning, from the very first conversation you have with somebody, all the way through the journey. It's the conversations and how you grow it past the point of sale, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's a double-edged sword, because a lot of people will say all the right things up to the point of the sale, and then afterwards they forget about all these things.
They're
gone. And if relationships mean a lot, then you need to invest in these relationships. You need to grow these relationships. You got to nurture these relationships. You got to bring care and compassion to these relationships. And that's why I'm a big believer in this, Brian. Business is personal today. Business is absolutely 100% personal.
Yeah. No, I agree. And one of our friends has joined us here. So, hi, Ted. I'm glad you're being on. So, real quick, while we're on that, just in the middle there, I want to encourage all listeners to share this out to their communities and to share this video with as many people as they can think of. Please put in the comments, whether you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, put in the comments of you winking with Wagner, because that's what we do. We wink with Wagner to begin to understand our uniqueness and what makes us unique. So if we can understand what makes us unique, and by the way, what makes me unique is not the fact that I only have one eye open. What makes me unique is my positive personality and how I'm able to share my story with other people to have a lasting impact on them, to build those relationships. So share this out. Share what makes you unique. Share your weekend with Wagner. Put in a hashtag weekend with Wagner, hashtag Brian with one eye, and tag yourself or tag me on that photo as well. So I know, and you'll be entered in to win a copy of my book. Sometimes It Does Take a Brain Surgeon. And, maybe we can even get a book, Selling from the Heart.
Oh, I'd be more than happy. All you got to do is ask, Brian. I think you already did, so it's done.
There we go.
That was a little subtle. I like how you threw that in there, Brian. That was cool.
Well, I used to be in sales.
Hey, don't say used to. Everybody's in sales.
Absolutely. I agree with that. That's his philosophy. And what else did Ted have to say here? Oh, he shared our video. Nice. Well, I'm so glad you do, Ted. anybody else that's coming on, whether you're listening live, and put in a hashtag live. If you're coming on a replay, put in a hashtag replay and just let us know where you're coming in from. So that would be phenomenal. Now, sorry, Larry, I interrupted you. We were talking about relationships and how important they are. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's hard. It's hard for me to be able to do that because I came from IBM. I know the importance of relationships, but now I'm off into another space where I'm an entrepreneur. I know that I need to get as many contacts as possible. So it's hard for me sometimes to not realize that I need to keep up with those relationships. But fortunately, I have a piece of paper here where I have written down all, and this is a spreadsheet, not the writing part, but the spreadsheet where I have all the contacts of people that I've spoken for. So I've gone through them just in the past month, and I've sent them all Christmas cards. I've called them all, and just trying to keep up with as much contact as possible. Just let them know that I'm still out here and I can help them. So what would you say to someone that's doing all of that, but still not seeing a lot of success?
Let's peel this back a little bit more. I mean, what's some of that help me understand a little bit more where you're going with this, and then I'll be able to answer it.
Well, I mean, so I'm just taking my own personal example.
Okay.
So I have those spreadsheets, and I do this not religiously, not quarterly. I don't know what the frequency is. Maybe it's quarterly. But keeping those contacts I know it's very important for me to be able to do that. I add them to my Facebook list, and so they've actually caught up with my story that has happened to me recently over Facebook, or whether it's LinkedIn and all that. So that they sometimes miss those stories if they're not in the right algorithm or whatever it's called. But also I try to get them on my actual mailing list. If they can come on my mailing list, then they'll catch my story. But I mean, that's impersonal. I think it's more personable to have pick up the phone, make the call, and all of that. I think that really helps a lot. So long story short, where do I go if I want to continue to have that lasting impact with people on a more personal basis to really continue in with that relationship?
So, okay, here's what it'd be a couple different ways. I would say this: we got to take a multifaceted approach to this, Brian. And when I say that let's just look at how many different ways we all communicate now. I can communicate with you via phone. I can communicate via text. I can communicate via social. I can communicate via email. I can send out a card. I can leverage the power of video, and I can send you a message. So part of what I do as far as my relationship building and how I nurture my relationships along the way, I do this every day. And what I do is I do this 7 days a week. I will find 3 to 4 people every single day. And I might drop them a text. Hey, Brian, I appreciate you. I was just thinking about you. I'll drop them a message in LinkedIn. Hey, have an amazing day, Brian. I could send them an email. Brian, I was just thinking about you. Have a wonderful week. Nothing more than that. I can leverage the power of video. And one of our strategic partners at Selling from the Heart's Bomb Video. I can send them a bomb video, and in 30 to 40 seconds, I can say, hey, Brian, you know what? I was just thinking about you today. I'm sitting here, I'm enjoying a cup of coffee. Your name popped into my head. I just wanted to say, something? I appreciate you. Have an amazing week. Happy holidays, and send the video off. That's the part of investing in relationships. I can go a step farther. Through a tangible touch, I can send a personalized card. One of my favorites is send out cards. I can send a send out card where I can customize it. I can put a picture on it. I do all that. And I can just set up a cadence where every single month I'm sending out cards. I have more than 500 or 600 people in my contact list that I send personalized cards to. I send cards out every single day. I'm a big Pardon me? No, they're not handwritten. I'll send a handwritten card out occasionally, but there's power behind a personalized card that captures the moments in people's lives. So, for instance, I tell you what, afterwards you send me your address and your mailing address, and I'll share this with you. But when I say the power of a send out card is, I want everybody to key in on this, and the power of building relationships, especially leveraging the power of social, whether that be LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. People put things out there because they want to be seen and heard. Well, part of relationship building is to listen to what people are communicating on out there and capture those. So, right, it just really simple. I could take a screenshot of us right now. I can screenshot that.
Yeah.
I can go into your Facebook. I can find something that you recently posted that's near and dear. I can customize a card with our photo on the front of it. And I can say, hey, Brian, you know what? Thank you so much for having me on your show on Friday, December 18th. I really appreciate it. I can pop a picture in that's something I found on Facebook that's near and dear to you. I promise you this, you will never throw that card away. And when you consistently do those, I mean, I look forward to going to the mailbox because I probably get 2 or 3 cards a day from people.
Really?
Just like that. So I think there's a saying that I have when it comes to relationships. The more you invest in the relationships, the more you'll be able to collect on those relationships.
Yeah.
But you have to invest in it. You have to build, grow, and nurture. You got to make daily deposits in your relationships. And it's just simple things, right? Hey, I was thinking about you. Have an amazing day. Happy holidays. Hey, I saw something that you posted last week on social. It reminded me of you. See where I'm going with this, Brian?
Yeah.
But you have to do those things every single day.
That makes sense. I mean, that really does make sense. But why is it so hard for people and me? Why is it so hard to do that?
To me, it's a mindset thing. It's all in the mind, and people are going, gosh, you know what? This probably is going to take a lot of time. Actually, it doesn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just have to set aside the time.
Right.
But it goes back to this, and I'm going to hit it head on. If relationships are important to people, then do something about it.
Right.
And set the time aside. And I'm a big believer. I block and tackle my time.
Mm-hmm.
Set 30 minutes. I'd encourage everybody, if you want to find the time, just in your calendar. I color code my calendar, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I color code it 7 days a week. And I block off in the morning. This is my time. This is what I do here. Then I block off my prospecting time. Then the rest of it's filled with coaching and growing my business and so forth. And then there'll be a 30-minute block every single day. I just call it relationship touching. And that's where I'll just send a text out. I'll send a message out. I'll send a card out. I think everybody can find 30 minutes in their day to set that aside in relationship building. It'll pay off in the long run. Mm-hmm. Take 30 minutes a day over 7 days a week. It's a few hours. It's probably the best few hours you can do with the best return on investment.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and you're right. I know you're right. But it's a matter of making that a discipline and doing that discipline, over and over and over, and making it a habit is really important. So yeah.
No, and to me it's just about prioritization. It's do all the things. It's the small little daily things that add up to the big things. When we fail to do the small things, multiply all those small things out every single day that you do, and in a month that adds up to a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're right. So it's a matter of doing it. So that's the big thing. Now here's the problem. We've gone on for 30 minutes already, and I haven't asked you any questions yet.
But see, it's all good. Hey, Brian, I kind of in the back of my mind designed it this way. Because you know what? Conversations are wonderful. And the nice thing that I like about having conversations like this is they're not pre-planned. It just whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully the listeners gain a lot from this. Hopefully there is a lot of conversations that are happening based on what conversation we've had here together. I'm very grateful to have had you on. I know this is not the last time that we're going to talk.
No, it's not.
But I am appreciative of having you on, and I just can't thank you enough for coming on today. So
no, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Stick around in the green room.
Yeah, we'll do.
And we'll talk soon. But thanks a lot, Larry.
All right, take care, Brian. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya. Bye. All right. Wow. Dynamite. Man, I am just so glad that these kind of people are on this show. I mean, oh my gosh. Phenomenal. Well, we've got a great lineup for you next week. Well, this afternoon, actually not this afternoon, 11:30 today. We're going to have Tom Shelton on, who's going to be talking about disabilities and the caregivers with this and caregivers of people with disabilities. So that'll be great. I hope you'll stick around for that. And then next week at 10 o'clock, we're still going to be working next week. We're still going to be doing our videos. So I hope you join us. We're going to have Dave Caperson. And Dave Caperson is one of the funniest guys that I know. So I hope you join us for that. I'm going to be talking as well. And then we have a big guest, Ross Bernstein is going to join us on Tuesday. So I'm really looking forward to having him on. He talks about the code, and the code is when it comes to sports and how important it is for us all to understand that those codes are kind of like business, and understanding that business and how aligned you want to be with your core values, your core strengths, aligned with your vision. It's very important, and those codes make all the difference in the world. So I'll invite you to come for that, and then Dave Kipperton again, and we're going to do a little double duty with him next week. So I'm just so looking forward to having you on next week on Vision Alignment. But I can't tell you how excited I am about all that you've been able to do for us. Continue to share the video out with as many people as you can. But as always, remember to keep one eye on the road.